biggest problem in tech industry and of course in the society. And surprisingly, disinformation, it is impacting everyone. We got impacted during COVID, US election, war propaganda, and stock market manipulation. You say it, it's there. And what intrigued me most, because in this time, in this era, there is no true solution of this problem. There is a 78 billion cost every year for disinformation. Clear differentiation of the problem. One is misinformation, where people unintentionally share some information which is not true, right? Which is fake. But my target is disinformation, where a group of people or individual produce fake information to manipulate mass opinion. That is actually creating the biggest harm of the community, of the society. They can't believe everything they see is true or everything they hear is true. We need to encourage critical thinking, ability to differentiate true or false. The social medias, they should encourage the fact first, and so that they can be accountable what they are publishing through their platform. There should be regulation associated with it. I think there are discussions going on, but we need to have a tighter control over there in social media accountability.
Future Hacker Life Path Future.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Future Hacker. I'm your host, Maria Paide, and today we're exploring one of the most critical topics of our times, combating misinformation. If you guys have been following us, we usually talk about that. We actually have some episodes again about the war against the truth, and in most of the interviews, we comment that. Joining us here is Mahenor Yusuf. She's the founder and CEO of FactFinders Pro. She's a visionary entrepreneur with a Harvard Business School pedigree and over a decade of leadership experience with industries giants like Dell. Mahenoor has dedicated her career to solving hard problems, and now she's leading the charge against disinformation. Her mission? To rebuild trust in our digital space and make technology a force for good. So it has everything to do with a future hacker. Hey, Mahenoor, it's so great to have you with us today. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, and thank you, Maria, for such a fantastic introduction. And I'm really glad to be part of your session today. Thank you.
It's amazing to have you. You know, as soon as I heard about you and what you were doing, we have to keep talking about that. And finally, usually when we talk about that, we talk about the challenges and what we need to do and things like that. But we never really talked about specifically a solution and a platform and the things we should be focusing on. But let's start from the beginning, right? What inspired you to make the leap into entrepreneurship, especially in this challenging space of combating misinformation, right? Can you share this? Maybe did you have a defining moment in your career that steered you towards, going through the fight for disinformation, against disinformation?
Thank you for that question, Maria, because this subject is very near and dear to me. Your question had two components. One is that entrepreneurship, and then, of course, disinformation. So as you have already announced that I'm a Harvard Business School alum, so that by default, the environment, the nature, make you entrepreneur, right? So career-wise, I have both business and technology background, and I'm a tech entrepreneur as well as intellectual entrepreneur. Last several years, I've been very much involved with Harvard in Tech community, which is a SIG, special interest group, having dialogue with corporate exec, subject matter expert, different social issues in tech industry, and then, of course, issues in tech industry. And while I was doing that, I came across, like, I was trying to research what is the biggest problem in tech industry and, of course, in the society. And surprisingly, disinformation, it is impacting everyone. We got impacted during COVID, US election, war propaganda, and stock market manipulation. You say it, it's there. And what intrigued me most, because in this time, in this era, there is no true solution of this problem. There is a 78 billion cost every year for disinformation. So I felt so passionate about this problem, and I always wanted to be part of a solution that will give us an opportunity to give back to the community, and then also will help me to work with latest and greatest technology of the current era. So I got very determined when I started digging into the problem, started researching further, and then I started my startup last year. In fact, this November is our 1 year anniversary of FactFinders Pro. Yes, and it has been quite a journey, right? And so my defining moment was that the determination that solving this problem that needs to be solved. We can't wait any longer. We can't wait for someone else to solve this problem. We have to take ownership and drive it.
Perfect. You know what? Could you break down the biggest sources of this information today? Like, and why are they so difficult to tackle?
Yes. So biggest sources, of course, by default, it's a social media
Okay.
news, right? So there are so many, and of course, different gatherings, informal gatherings. But I do want to call out, right? There is a clear differentiation of the problem. One is misinformation, where people unintentionally share some information which is not true, right? Which is fake. But my target is disinformation, where a group of people or individual produce fake information to manipulate mass opinion. That is actually creating the biggest harm of the community, of the society. So it can take as an 80-20 rule. If I can solve this problem, that means it's going to take majority of the problem out of the community. So now why it is difficult to tackle, right? So it's today's current digital era. Technology is so advanced that the velocity, the speed of sharing information is tremendous, right? Within a minute, information can get shared worldwide, right? So there is real-time tracking and actually identifying fake news that is why it's difficult, because we can't wait for a week, for a month, get into group of people, have a discussion and identify what's true or false. We can't. It has to be real time so that we can address it in the core, or it is never going to be, the impact will be always there.
So and I first of all, I do love that you give us this difference between misinformation and disinformation.
Yes.
Right. And I don't know if it applies to both of them, but also there's this side of the emotional appeal, and there's a confirmation bias as well. So, in your opinion, what's the most effective way to counteract this on a societal level? And as you said, we have to be quick because the damage is too fast, right?
Yes.
It spreads really quickly, and it doesn't matter if it's on a personal level or a corporate level or government level. The damage is too quickly, and just to revert is also too costly as well, right?
Yes.
So, what do you think that it's, there? For sure, there's not only one answer in here, but which are the ways?
Yeah, so I think that actually emotion is like driven from cognitive bias, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
I believe in something, and if I see relevant information, that means that is true. That is emotional attachment, right? So I think that by improving media literacy, creating awareness, letting people know that they can't believe everything they see is true or everything they hear is true. They have to, we need to encourage critical thinking, ability to differentiate true or false. And lastly, we need to equip our community with certain tools that will immediately differentiate whether true or false, right? They will be able to identify. So, and then we need to be very empathetic to them, right? Because we can't be very confrontational because it's attached to their emotion. So, as long as we can take the approach very logically, identify where the problem is, and clearly explain that why it is a problem, then people will be more receptive of the issue.
And I think it's still a very sensitive topic when we say what defines what's real versus what's not, right?
Yeah.
But we have two levels here. So going to one of them, which is some people argue that information and disinformation is somehow unavoidable byproduct of free speech. So people say, I can say whatever I want,
Yes.
especially in the US, right? There's a very strong argument around free speech. And, whatever I can say whatever I can say, it doesn't matter. So this is a hard debate to follow. What's your take on that?
So I am completely in favor of free speech. And free speech and disinformation, they are not in conflict, right? Free speech is that people should have the ability to share their opinion. That's one thing, right? However, when it comes to disinformation, we need to ensure is that our goal should not be suppressing free speech. It should be, we need to create an informed society, media literacy, right? And then is better equip them with tools. Immediately they can identify what's true and false, and then they can reject the misleading information right away. Right, so then it is no way in conflict of free speech.
Yes. And media literacy is totally one of our flags as well. We did roundtables around that. It's super important for like all the ages, right? All the levels. It doesn't matter which sector that you are. It doesn't matter. Like you have to understand, and there's also it has everything to do with the qualities, with the soft skills that we need also to improve for this new world that is coming, this near future, right? Which is though how to question, how to criticize, and try to understand which is the source, what is the intention behind the source. So there's a lot of thinking out there behind to do it, right?
Yes.
But then there's another level, and which takes the challenge to, again, like it's a whole different level, which is the deepfakes, right? And synthetic media. So very soon we won't even be able to believe our eyes and what we hear, right? Because it's going to be fabricated. So and then I want to start getting into specifically your solution, right? So how does your platform ensure fairness and avoid bias when qualifying information?
Okay. So let me first start with the core, right?
Yes.
What is truth? What is truth? That is the biggest question. How do we clearly differentiate what is true and false? So there are few elements involved with it, right? So we need to ensure that we have consistency in the objective of reality, right? So that is very much. We need to also ensure that there is consensus among experts, right? So about the fact that we are talking about, there is a transparent documentation around it, and then imperial evidence around it, right? So we need to. So these are very critical component, and in combination. And then lastly, of course, that without any type of bias and fairness is there, right? So when we collectively look at the issue through these lenses and fine tune it, then we could clearly identify it's a true or false. Now, your question is that also, how do FFP is coming up with a solution, right? So at FFP, we are developing AI-driven solution to create a platform identifying true or false. So I'm going to step back and talk about a little bit that what is the current state from a consumer perspective, right? Then I can go deep dive into the solution. So when a consumer, end user, my product vision start with is that when a consumer consuming a content at any platform, any content, the tool should provide them the capability to identify what's true and false. This is to better understand this problem. There is no true solution out there, and there are some companies working in silos. For example, some company focusing on bot-generated content, some company focusing on political bias. But consumer, they don't care. They can't jump from one platform to one platform to identify what type of false true it is, right? So that is my product vision, right? Regardless what content they are consuming, our tool should be able to identify whether it's a true or false and whatever platform they are on. Now, keeping that in mind, at FactFinders Pro, there are different components in our AI tool. We are triangulating a logical, coherent, and empirical evidence which has been verified by expert. That's number one. So when I say triangulating, it's cross-checking across multiple independent sources, and of course verifying the source of truth. And then we talked about expert, validating through expert, right? And then secondly, engineers are objective and fair prompts with transparent documentation using regulated AI. Right. So when your team of expertise are very much aware of that, how biases impact. So whatever prompt, whatever code we are developing, ensuring that that is free of bias from the very beginning will help us to build a tool which is free of bias. We are going to try our best to do that.
And I'm sorry to interrupt, but that per se is a huge challenge because we each one of us, like we have our own biases that we are not even aware of, right?
Yes, exactly.
So you need to have a very diverse team and diversity really at its core, right?
Yes.
All
yes.
different sorts of backgrounds and cultures and everything, and different eyes looking at the same thing.
Yes.
To guarantee that something is without bias. I mean, this guarantee is even super hard, right?
Yes, you're very right? So let me talk about the culture of FactFinder Pro. We have a diverse group of people as of today. We have 85 resources working on it worldwide, right? And we very much promote a diverse environment where people can share their opinion very freely, right? Every idea is welcome. And as a team, we review, we validate, we discuss, and come up with the right path for our solution. So the culture matters a lot. How you can introduce a very, very bias-free, diverse environment and organization. We talked about that a diverse team, and then also another critical piece is that testing. Right? We need to ensure that we have proper testing, proper monitoring in place, and ensuring that consistency and with an objective reality that must be there, right? And we do different type every part of the development is associated with testing. For example, when we develop a solution for a component and subcomponent, we always have internal demo. And a team of experts review it, discuss it, and provide suggestions. So the team can always learn, grow, and improve the accuracy rate, improve the solution. So that, again, tied to the diverse environment and sharing opinion, getting feedback is critical. So that's one type of testing. And of course, end-to-end regression testing, end-to-end testing. So we have a dedicated QA team who are actually, who has a plan in place, and then who execute the testing part.
And I'm sorry, even when we talk about the sources, right? Sources of data, even finding, I mean, well, and that's a question I have. So to fight bias, right? Would we need an amount of sources, each of them with their own bias, to then somehow find it, whichever unbiased version it is? Or do you find sources that in theory don't have? Because when I think about data and media groups, each media group clearly they write their own version of the story, and they clearly have their own point of view. So how do you choose the sources? Is it like as widely and varied as possible, or is it more maybe agency based or whichever base do you use, you know?
Okay, so the sources could be multiple types. One type of source is source of truth. Source of truth, what could be a source of truth? Any government information is published in a government site, that is a source of truth, right? However, what happens to the biases, right? So that's when we bring in multiple components of our solution. One is the triangulation. We talked about cross-checking with multiple sources and identifying what is the truth here, right? And then we also, we talked about provenance, which is looking into the metadata.
Okay.
What is the trail of information associated with the content, which will clearly identify? So I'll give you an example, right? So there is a statement made by a political party, and when we looked into the source and identified that is source of information is originated outside of US. So that means that is very much tied to now political campaign and propaganda, and that is why high probability this will be a fake news.
Okay.
Right?
Got
so,
it. Yes.
Yeah, so we apply different type of logic and component to our solution based on scenario, so that we can take a holistic approach and come to the truth.
Yeah. I find it, you know, it's we could have a philosopher with us when talking about truth here, because it's such a complex object. Because when you say about governments, right, I'm pretty sure US will have their truth, and China will have their truth, and Russia will have their truth, and who knows what's going to be any kind of truth in here. So it's super, super interesting and super complex as well. And we should have even macroeconomy professors involved on that.
Yes.
But I'm curious. So which stage is FFP currently? So you have this crew all over the world, right? Helping you out.
Yes.
What are you guys like building? Which stage is the platform, and what are the next steps about it?
Okay. So let me first, I think we talked about the culture of FFT.
Yes,
The
yes,
people of the
yes.
VG is the core. And then we actually are developing a solution in two tracks. One is B2C, which is a consumer-based solution, which we would like to have that free for all with freemium model. And then also specific functionality based charges. For example, they want further analysis of the data content, then they can pay for it. But our tool should be immediately identify what's true or false, and that should be available. That is my mission, and that is the goal. And then there's a B2B side, enterprise level, so that we can leverage the same type of engine in corporations to actually identify true or false. We have actually did initial research, like 5 domains, 17 different verticals, and pretty much you name it, we can apply this engine or this solution to that domain. So, for example, currently we are starting with in B2B financial sector with 4 verticals, right? Where like financial sector, let's say venture capitalists, day in and day out, they receive literally thousands of information from startups. They need to validate, and then they need to make a decision or investment decision, which one will be the best startup to invest, right? So first step is validating the content, validating the information, what they have shared. And then, of course, our analytic tool, our AI tool should provide them some kind of direction that which one will be which will helpful for them to invest right away. So it's similar to financial sector. We have looked into media. Of course, we all know media need that. Even professional services, they require that. So again, stock market, definitely you need that. So you name it, right? So the good news is the applicability of this solution is everywhere. Like we have already identified, this is the biggest problem of the society and the technology phase.
Yes. Okay. So in the okay, great. So and I'm curious on a more personal level. How has this work affected the way that you consume and engage with information in your own life? Like, how do you approach media literacy, your own family and friends? And this is, I'm telling you, I'm not working in this platform, and you know, my family drives me crazy already. You know, because those you just like give me some thought that you know that is not true, right? So did it change anything personally in your life, or were you already like a nerd about it? You know?
Yeah, so absolutely it changes the perception, because the more you dig into the problem you identify, right? I was surprised at one point that the political propaganda or political campaign, right? People are paying overseas organization to create disinformation, to manipulate mass opinion, create division among the society, right? And also personal agenda. So I have, it's kind of tied to the media literacy. So I have started questioning, right? Critical thinking, looking to the source. So my mindset also moved into that kind of always questioning, okay, if I am seeing a news, where it is coming from and what it is saying, is there any bias involved, or it's just a straightforward fact, right? So thought process going to different sources and identifying whether it's a true or false. So my mindset changed. In personal level, uh, family members, right? Like we had shared that it's a problem for everyone. So my mom is very much aware of health issues, right? Whatever information is out there, she will consume it and she will truly believe it. So I have to personally um, share some additional information to make her not to believe it, because at this point we don't have a tool for her to immediately identify that it's a false information they are spreading.
We've been covering also a lot specifically about health literacy as well, because it's one of the lead causes of death in the world.
Yes.
Disinformation on health. It's amazing, and
Yes.
how again social media plays a part on that, right? Because
Yes.
it's all
Yes.
up there. It's all up there, and
It's
it's so easy to
it's
believe.
unbelievable, right? And what it is that when it's impacting people who are very vulnerable, is very heartbreaking. Elderly people or very young, they are getting manipulated, and they are getting emotionally attacked. The impact is tremendous, right? So someone's life getting impacted, or financially they are getting impacted. So when I did my research, it was quite an eye opener to identify that what kind of impact it's doing to the society.
Yeah, exactly. So looking ahead, right? We know how hard it is today and all the consequences that we're seeing out there.
Yes.
And we know that with the advancements of technology, it's just getting harder, as I mentioned before, right? Um, so what do you see as the next major battlefront, like in the fight against disinformation?
So the number one problem will be AI generated deepfake, which is number one battle as now and will be in future, because as technology is getting more advanced, like you must have heard very recently this year, is that a voice uh, mimicking someone's voice and making a statement.
Yes.
We have seen audio, we have seen visual manipulation. So these are all a byproduct of deepfake, right? So we should be able to identify when there is AI generated, manipulated content, and identify that.
And we definitely need technology for that, because counting our eyes, it's going to be, it's not enough
Yes.
anymore. It's not enough. Yeah.
Another area is will be a big battle is that social media accountability. Right. So when you think about currently the social medias, they encourage, right, engagement versus fact. That mindset needs to be changed, right? The social medias, they should encourage the fact first, and so that they can be accountable what they are publishing through their platform. There should be regulation associated with it. I think there are discussion going on, but we need to have a tighter control over there in social media accountability.
Yes. Yes. And what's your vision like for your startup specifically in the next 5 years? And how do you hope it will reshape the digital landscape?
So uh, I want FactFinders Pro to be a brand of fact checking, whether it's a general consumer or whether it's for or enterprise level. So we want to, like I shared earlier, we want to produce a platform that will help the general community, whether it's a true or false. So that is overall my product vision and my mission. Now, within next 5 years, what I can see is that we will be able to launch. Let's start with the B2C. So we will be able to launch the basic fact checking tool out there free for all. And B2B side, like I shared earlier, we want to start with financial sector. So the four verticals are target. So we are going to launch enterprise solutions for those verticals, and then ensure that we have the end-to-end full solution for those verticals, and onboard our customers to our platform for B2B side.
Okay, great. And if people want to somehow collaborate, you said that you have this soul crew out there. I know that you mentioned to me that the many volunteers as well. So how is it? How can people get more information about it? And also, one of the things that I'd like to give as a final message to people, if you could give them advice also around media literacy, right? The path they could go, because we really need some changes here. I think
Yes.
I know that we're all tired with the excess of
Yes.
information. We are all tired to have
Yes.
to be using our system two all the time instead of just letting system one go and just having relaxing and having some fun.
Exactly.
Our heads is not that easy. So any also advices that you could give to the audience, it would be amazing.
Okay, so your first question was tied to how can they reach out to us? Right?
Yes.
So I would recommend that reach out to me directly. If I'm willing to have a discussion, willing to be part of partner with others in this journey. Right. So follow me at LinkedIn. You have my name, so you can connect with me, and then let's go ahead and have a chat on it. Whatever way we can help each other, right? And then, of course, you can go to our FactFinders Pro website, where you will find tons of information, what kind of solution that we are developing for consumer perspective, from a B2B perspective. And you can directly reach out to me if you have any follow-up question related to that. So now my final thought related to disinformation, right? So as I have shared, this is my mission to tackle it. So I would recommend have patience. Pretty soon we have the solution for you. We will have it out there so that we can leverage that. Until we have the tool, I would recommend be very critical about what you are consuming, what type of information you're consuming. Do not believe what you see. Always try to ask the right question and try to validate it, so that you can clearly differentiate if it is a true or false. It might not be a real-time solution. However, at least you can form an opinion around it.
Exactly. So let's ask questions, everybody. Don't never stop asking, right? Keep being curious and also, alert. So, Mahenoor, it was such a pleasure having you on the show with us today. And, I do hope that in a couple of months you can come back here to share everything that you were able to launch and
Yes,
keep us updated,
absolutely. And it's a pleasure being part of this session. Thank you so much, Maria.
Thanks, everybody, for following.
Future Hacker. Life. Path. Future.